And when somebody interviews you and says, hey, tell me what it felt like when you walked across that stage. Tell me what it felt like when you rung that bell at when your company went public. What did it feel like when you sold your company? What did it feel like when you became a millionaire? What did it feel like when you married the woman in your dreams? What did that feel like? Here's what your answer should be. Exactly like I visualized it would be. Welcome to the Liberating Humanity podcast. I'm Paul Hutchinson. Today we're going to talk about visualization to achieve your goals. Now you ask, why does that matter with liberating humanity? Guess what? If we're tied to a life of mediocrity, if we're tied to all of the things that don't serve the highest and best version of ourselves, we need to change how we think and how we feel so that we can create the future that we really want. I've had so many people ask me to teach about how I built a multi-billion-dollar company, how we found the children when they were in the horrible situations that they were. And a lot of it is just learning how to tune in to the world that's around you and tune in to that voice inside as well. So let's get on with it today. So many of you guys have met my wife out of Vanessa, or you've heard her on some of the podcasts or seen her on Child Liberation Foundation. I joke and tell people that I created her. And in reality, I truly believe that I did. I wrote down every single thing that I wanted in a healthy relationship, everything. Because about 7-8 years ago, I was super successful financially, super successful in the charity work that I was doing. But I was on my second marriage headed for a divorce. I was not happy, and I hadn't had that happiness in my relationship for quite a long time. So I ended up going to a Tony Robbins event, and I had been to a lot of these before. And there's a section of his UPW event where he talks about, he has you write down something in your business that is not where you want it to be yet. And you go through almost this 2-hour part of his seminar where you're writing down in detail what it looks like, what it feels like, what every emotion that is tied to being in that place in your business that you want to be. And I realized I had done this. I had done this with my business success. I had done this with the philanthropy stuff that I had done. And I had never used it in my personal relationships. I was wondering why they were falling apart. And that was one of the reasons. I had never gotten really clear as to what I wanted. And so I was there. We were literally there on the front row. I was there with some celebrity people there and had a great relationship with Tony. And he had us start writing down the details of whatever it is that you want to change. And at the time, I was married, and I wrote down the name of my wife. I said my relationship with, and her name was Rocio. Our relationship with Rocio is, and this is how Rocio shows up in my life, and this is how I show up in hers, and this is how she shows up for my kids, and this is how I treat her in public, and this is how she treats me. All of these things that I was looking for. This is how we fulfill each other's needs, and et cetera, et cetera. And about 15 minutes into it, I had this overwhelming feeling that as I'm visualizing and creating this relationship of my dreams, I don't have the right to affect the free will of another person. If she chooses to be that person in my life, that's her choice. But outside of that, I didn't want that to impede that relationship that I was looking for. So I changed it. I changed it to my relationship with the woman in my life is. And this is how the woman in my life shows up for me, et cetera. In fact, I'll read just a little bit of it here because I think this is super important. I started out with, my greatest dream is to be with a woman who I'll be happy with for the rest of my life. One whom I'll share complete physical and emotional fidelity with every day of our lives together. God has preserved for me my perfect match and will provide the pathway to happiness for us both. The woman in my life respects me. She looks up to me for all that I have achieved and builds me up to achieve more. She's also a woman that I respect. She has lived her life in a way that I admire and can honor. Now, that's just the first two paragraphs. As you can see, I've got pages. And then I have one that is talking about my gift to the woman in my life, how I show up for her, what I contribute, how I change things about myself to be worthy, to be qualified for a person like that in my life. And so I write pages and pages of that. Now, the key with effective visualization in manifestation is you can't just write the words and not have any emotion tied to it. One of the things that Tony does in his part of that presentation is he emotionally takes you to the finish line, takes you to the achieving of that part of your life, and you're feeling it as if you're there. You're so excited about having it in your life, and all of the emotions that are tied to the success of that one thing in your life are something that he brings in, and then he takes it away so that emotionally you feel what it's like to not have that, and then takes you back so emotionally you feel that. And your words are powerful, but your emotions are so much more powerful than your words. And so this going back and going forth of feeling that emotion as if I was already there is what started to make the major changes in every part of my life that brought me into alignment and literally brought out of Vanessa into my path. I ended up getting a divorce from my wife at the time, and less than 2 months later, I was in Haiti and ended up meeting the woman of my dreams, the woman in my life that I had wrote in detail in this visualization. Detail. So, so many times we spend more time planning our next vacation than we do planning our life. And I would encourage you to take a look at all of the things in your life that aren't where they want to be right now, and take the time to get super clear on paper or on your phone. Write down word for word exactly what you want to create in a positive present format. Notice I wrote, the woman in my life respects me, in positive present format, and I respect her for what she's done, and this is how she shows up in my life. You don't want to use words that are I don't want to be fat anymore, or I want to quit smoking. This is all your subconscious mind is focusing on, I'm still a smoker and I'm still fat. Instead, say, I only eat foods consistent with a healthy 100 and whatever pound body that you want, or I exercise daily to maintain this health, and I spend time every day doing this, or I live in a safe neighborhood with my family in this kind of a home. My wife drives a car that is paid for, that is safe for our kids. We go on a vacation. This is all a positive present format in all of your visualizations. Now, I have a few different stories that I think are going to really bring this home. And then I'm going to go into a meditation with you. Why? Because if you can take yourself into a deep, almost a theta state of meditation, and in that deep state of meditation, feel deep gratitude for all that is in your life, all the beautiful things that already are, all that was, all the things that brought you to this point, and then gratitude for the future, for the things that you're creating. I truly believe that gratitude for those things that you are attracting into your life is the purest form of faith. And so we're going to go through that so that you can tie into the energetic resources of the universe in creating that life of your dreams, not just tricking your mind into paying attention to things that you should, which part of meditation, part of the visualization is going to create that motivation to do the right things every day to get you to that point. But there's more to it than that. There is a literal, and you will see this in your life, there is a literal energetic connection with the universe around you, and touching the ether, the thinking stuff as to which all things are made, and bringing that into reality in your life. Everything in your life was created spiritually before it was created physically. Somebody thought up this shirt before it was ever done. This design behind me here, I thought of it in my mind before we created the physical part of it. And so everything in your life starts out with that visualization, everything. Even the chair I'm sitting on, somebody came up with the idea of this chair and they drew it out and they put it all together. And so starting with a clear visual picture of what you want to create makes all the difference. People, if you've heard me talk about Bridge as we were building the company, you've heard the story about how John would be asked, well, did you see it? You know, this multi-billion-dollar company, did you see it? And he says, no, but Paul did. In the beginning, he talks about how we would be in this little office, so small that we would bump elbows and we would turn around. And we would have a deal where we needed $25,000 by Friday. And John would be on the phone, I'd be on the phone, I'd be making calls, and then I would hang up the phone and I'd put my pinky by the side of my mouth. And I would say, John, we're going to be $1 billion fund someday. And John would say, Paul, we need $25,000 by Friday, right? But it was that visualization. It was seeing it, even if it seems like unbelievable right now, putting those words out to the universe, doing it in faith and visualizing that you can be there is what attracted all of the right people into our world and allowed us to create a multi-billion-dollar company. Now, for the next 4 years, we have Trump in office. Let me tell you a story in 2016. So I got a phone call from our attorney general, and he said, Hutch, he said, I've got some VIP tickets to the event in New York where Trump's gonna, the election night. He said, we're probably not gonna win, but it would be super cool to be there. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. So, we fly out to New York just as friends and which was fun. We'd been friends for quite a while. And we get there and there weren't 2 tickets. There was only one, and it wasn't a VIP. It was just general admission. So here's my story of using those visualization techniques that I told you about to showing up without a ticket and ending up with the Trump family by the end of the night. So here's what happens. We're there we show up. He doesn't have it. There's no VIP ticket. There's just the one ticket, and it's just a general admission. And we're like, crap, we flew all the way out here. And I said, bro, you just go in. I said, wait a minute. Why don't we do this? Just, I was already doing some of the undercover work. I was helping out with the foundation stuff. And I said, just tell him I'm here as your security. He says, oh, that's a great idea. So we literally walk up to the gate. They're opening it up, and he's like, hey, here's my ticket to get in. I'm the attorney general in Utah, and this is my friend. He's coming as my security, and they let me in. So I literally get in without a freaking ticket, right? Then we go, and we're up at we find there's this general area with just a bunch of big donors and stuff, and then there's this VIP room where these guys are like none shall pass type thing, and there's standing room only in there, and it's not a very huge room. And we walk up to there, and Sean said, hey, I'm the attorney general in Utah. And they said, I don't care if you're the next president. If you don't have one of these gold passes, you can't get into this room. I'm sorry, you just can't get in. And so we're like, okay, yeah. We turn around, and I said, Sean, by the end of tonight, we will be in that room. This is words of affirmation, right? We will be in that room, and we will be up at the front. And his exact words were, I know, Hutch, that's why I brought you, right? And so I take just a minute, I close my eyes, and I'm feeling, it's so important that you feel the emotion. I'm feeling the emotion of what it would be like to be in that room, to be inside. Now, I'm not going to try to do something nefarious to do so. I'm just feeling it, and I'm allowing what happens to happen to make that my reality. So we go, and we're out talking, and about half an hour later, he's in one part of the building. I'm in another part, just talking to some donors and whatnot. And I feel something. Now, I already set my intention. This is incredibly important, guys. If you don't decide specifically where you want to go, then you're not going to get this still small voice that's going to start directing you in the way. You have to start with deciding exactly where you want to go and emotionally tying yourself to it, which I did. So I have this feeling, and it turned around. I turned around, and there was this older couple that was walking up the stairs, and they looked a little bit lost. So I went over to them, and I said, and I had this feeling that I should. I go over and I said, can I help you with something? And the gentleman says, yes, we don't know where to go. We have this gold tickets, this VIP area. Now, without any thought in my mind of, I'm going to use your tickets to get in, I honestly, from the love of my heart, I said, you know what? I know exactly where that area is. I can walk you there. And so his wife was a little bit older. And so I go over and I'm holding her by the arm and I'm walking with her. And she said, well, we're supposed to have some special seating. She said, there's some like chairs for us somewhere. And I said, I don't know if I'm taking you to the right place, because there's the standing room only in this VIP room that we're going. And she said, well, my name is Elizabeth. I'm Donald Trump's older sister. And I'm like, oh, you are? I said, you know what? I want to help you. So we don't walk all around the building. Why don't you guys sit here on this couch? I will go find out exactly where you're supposed to go, and I'll be back. So I go back up to the VIP area. These guys, none shall pass, are there. And I said, hey, I've got Elizabeth here, Donald Trump's sister. There's supposed to be some seating. He goes, I don't know where it is. So he radios his boss, and then that person says, I don't know. So they literally radio the boss, the head of security for the whole operation, for the whole night. And by then, everybody's calling me sir. And this guy introduces me to the head of security, saying, this is Mr. Hutchinson, and he's here with Donald Trump's sister, and with the Trump family. And I didn't correct him on that. I'm saying, yeah, Elizabeth is here downstairs. And he said, well, there's supposed to be some special seating for him up here, but some random people are in it. So then I take a whole new level of posture. I say, listen, I need you to go up and clear out those seats. And put a rope, whatever you need to do, so more people aren't in them. I'll go get Elizabeth and her husband right. He goes, yes, sir, right? So then I leave, and I'm radioing Reyes. I'm like, Joe, bro, where are you? I said, meet me down to this lobby area. So he meets me down there, and I introduced him. I said to Elizabeth, Elizabeth, this is my good friend, Sean Reyes. He's just helping me with some security stuff. He's the attorney general in Utah. She goes, oh, Sean, Paul's been such a good friend for us. And he goes, oh, yeah, Paul's that way. And so literally, I take her by the arm. He takes the husband by the arm, and we walk. Now the guards are literally holding the crowd back, right? They walk us right up to the very front, put us in these seats. So I'm thinking, crap, we're not supposed to be here, right? So I say to Elizabeth, I said, can I go get you a drink? And she goes, oh, yeah, I'd love a gin and tonic. Or I don't remember what it was. I went to the bar, went and got her some drinks. I came back. By then, Robert Trump is there, Donald Trump's other brother. And Elizabeth says to Robert, she says, Robert, this is my good friend Paul and Sean from Utah. I would like them to sit with our family. And Robert said, welcome to the Trump family, boys, and puts his arms around us. And so we're literally sitting there in this roped off area in the front, exactly like I visualized. Now, what was cool, which I didn't visualize, but it was freaking crazy, is we're sitting there that evening, and all of a sudden the map starts turning red. We're like, holy crap. We won. We freaking won, right? And then it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and Robert Trump's wife, she says, hey, Paul, we're hungry. Do you know of anything that's open? And it's like 4 in the morning in New York, and I'm looking at my Yelp. I'm like, well, Ray's Pizza's open. I said, I'll buy. She's like, Paul's buying, right? So literally it's the Trump family. No, it wasn't Donald. He, of course, now was the new president, so he was taken off by Secret Service, but it was me and Sean and the rest of the extended members of the Trump family get in this van. And they shut down the restaurant. We literally are having pizza with them the night of the elections when we first won, right? It all happened because of that visualization. And I can give you hundreds and hundreds of examples of doing undercover work, and maybe I'll tell a few of those as well. But early on in my career, we had a company that helped people overcome anxiety and depression and PTSD, etc. And I had an employee. His name was Robert, and Robert had the ability to make easily $250,000 a year. The problem was he would come in the first few days of the month. He would make enough sales, our coaching sales for people with anxiety. He would make enough sales to pay all of his bills within a few days. And then by day 4 or 5, he would just nosedive. He could not close anything. And the problem is these were people who really needed the help, but he just lost his mojo, and it happened every single month. And I realized, okay, Robert is living a $30,000 a year life. He's living in a 1-bedroom apartment. He drives a crappy car. He doesn't have need for anything more than that. That's the reason he's sabotaging his own success. So I thought I have 2 choices here. I can either take his commissions way down so that he can help more people and do more sales, or I can take Robert and take his personal expectations way up. And of course, I did the latter. So I said, Robert, let's get off the phones, but let's go spend some time figuring out what your dream is and visualizing where you want to be. And so we got in my car and I said, Robert, I said, if every car in the world cost $1, what would you drive? And he said, well, I've always wanted to have one of those big full-size vans, with the high top on the top and a bed in the back. Now, that wasn't my dream, but it was his, right? And this is what was important. For me, as the boss, I needed to help him visualize where he wanted to be, not where I wanted to be, where he wanted to be. And so we went to the dealership. We got in one, and he's driving, and I says, can you imagine yourself being this? And I needed to help him emotionally feel it, not just write down, I want a van, right? More than that, create a vision board in real life, right? So taking him to actually drive it, and he's driving. I says, Robert, I said, you could afford this. You could afford this in a couple months. Pay cash for it with the skill sets that you have. The problem is you haven't visualized it. You don't believe it. And so changing that belief in himself. And then I said, if every house costs $1, where would you live? He says, this neighborhood up on the hill. I says, have you ever looked at those? No, I couldn't afford them. I says, yes, you could afford those, right? We drove up there and we looked at those. Dream building with him established this, helped him to visualize, to feel emotionally that success in his life. And suddenly things changed. He was now making consistent, successful sales throughout the entire month instead of just the first few days. And this has happened so many times. So many times. I had another employee named Dallas. And I remember he was an employee. I was mentoring him. I had sold one of my companies. I was mentoring him. And he was having a hard time with his company, hard time building it. And I remember I wanted to introduce him to one of my mentors that had helped me with my company. And that mentor was named Steve. And Steve had this beautiful Mercedes. And we went and we up to Steve's house and we got in his car and I put Dallas in the front seat with Steve. And I'm in the back. And Steve asked Dallas, he said, have you visualized where you want to be? He said, what do you mean? He said, yeah, what is your dream? What is your why? Have you visualized your why? And Dallas said, well, that's the problem. And Steve said, what was that? And I thought that Steve didn't hear him. So I leaned forward and I said, yeah, Steve. He said, that's the problem. And Steve turned around to me and he said, no, Paul. He said, that's your problem. I said, what is my problem that he doesn't have his why? He hasn't visualized where he's going? He said, yeah. He said, what kind of a mentor are you? He said, are you just teaching him all the how-to, the spreadsheets he needs to put together, how to contact people, how to put together his product line, whatever it is? He said, you're wasting your time teaching him the how-to in his business if you haven't helped him clearly visualize his reason why. So what I would encourage you to do with whatever industry that you're in is clearly identify what your why is, what your end result is, whether that's, and again, it's not the vehicle to get there. It's literally the lifestyle that you have and what it feels like getting at the end of it. So my sister Tiffany used to be a travel agent. And if I called her up and I said, hey, Tiffany, I want to be on a 737 jet, and I want to be there tomorrow afternoon at 2:00. She would say, you want to be on what? Yeah. You know what? No, I want to have a bigger jet. I want to be on a 747 at 2:00 tomorrow. She would say, Paul, where do you want to go? So many times we are looking at our vehicles instead of looking at the destination. Okay. So as you're visualizing, visualize the destination, visualize the success of your final presentation. If you're presenting to a large group of people, visualize them really having a touched heart at the end of it, having their lives be transformed because you were speaking to them. Visualize somebody taking home that that new car, if you're selling cars, visualize the end result of taking your company public and ringing the bell. Whatever it is, it's the destination that we want to focus on. The journey will be different, and a lot of things will come and go on your journey, but getting super clear on visualizing where you want to be at the end. Don't get caught up on all of the paths on the way there. So if I told my sister, okay, I don't want to be on a 747 tomorrow at 3 o'clock, that doesn't matter. What really matters is that I need to be speaking in New York at a conference tomorrow evening. That conference starts at this time, so I need to be there by this time. She would then say, okay, you need to be at the airport at this time, you need to be at this gate at this time, and book the tickets, and it's irrelevant to me what that plane looks like. It's irrelevant whether that plane has 2 engines or 4. It's irrelevant whether it's got a blue wings or yellow wings. It doesn't matter, right? What matters is clearly seeing where I wanted to end up. I want to be in New York at this time. This is how we need to treat our goal setting. This is how we need to treat our visualizations, is we need to clearly feel the end result, clearly see and write down in detail what it is. Now, writing something down without having a date, that's just a dream. So identify what it is you want and put it in date. Now, your date should be in sand. Put your goal in concrete, put your date in sand. What that means is, hey, I have a goal of living in this kind of a home and having this kind of a car and having this kind of a family and having this kind of an impact, et cetera, and I want to accomplish this by this date. And write the date down, write the details of what you want to accomplish, visualize it, feel it. But then if that date comes, hopefully you've done enough to get yourself a lot closer to it. And if you haven't achieved it by that date, don't beat yourself up. Know that you did a lot more than you would have if you hadn't written it down. And so then move the date. Again, the goal is in concrete, the date is in sand. So let's push that out a little bit until all of that starts blossoming in your life in a really beautiful way. You've all heard that, maybe you haven't heard the story, but there's a cool story about how Jim Carrey, before he was famous, wrote himself a check for $10 million. And I don't know all the details of it. I probably should have looked at it before I did this podcast, but I know that eventually he was able to cash that check with just one of the movies that he got offered a role in. And so again, it was that visualization of where he wanted to be and physically writing that check to himself. I would encourage you to do the same. Write a check to yourself. Put it where you can see it. It doesn't do you any good to write yourself a check and put it underneath in your drawer somewhere. Put it out where you can see it every single day. That's a perfect visualization. I remember as I was building the fund, I realized that the longer I could keep my mind completely focused on a goal, the more likely it would be to manifest itself in my life. And so I remember I was at the gym and there was I could see through the windows of the gym into the pool area, and there was this timer for laps in the pools, and it was all at zeros. It was a 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, all these things, and there was a few of them that were all together. And so I visualized in my mind that there was a 1 at the front of that, and there was a bunch of zeros that equaled $1 billion. And so and then I imagined $10 billion. So I was seeing these numbers and seeing them expand, and I was visualizing having that much under management within the fund. I started out with something easy, $10 million. And then once I felt that emotionally, then I visualized the 100 million. I felt that emotionally. Then I visualized the 1 billion. I felt that. And then the 10 billion. I should have kept going because I retired at 20 billion, but the company is now even bigger than that. I'm still a founder, still an owner, still get checks, etc. But there have been amazing people that have continued the growth beyond what I was able to do when John and I were there. But that clear visualization and feeling it was something that made all the difference in attracting that into my life. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to share with you how I do my meditations when it comes to that visualization and manifestation. So in our retreats, when we have people come down, I teach them some different types of meditation exercises. I teach some different types of breath work, of stress release breath work, and some other types of breath work that are a holotropic or a DMT release type of breath work. And so I'm going to go through the steps of what I do with that here with you on the podcast so that you can start to implement those things in your life. So the step one, for me, when I'm going into a meditation, it's a spiritual practice. I'm connecting with my higher self. I'm connecting with the universe. I'm connecting with God. And just like in the olden days when you have the analog radios and you had to tune in the tuner just to the right frequency, otherwise you would get a bunch of fuzz, and then right frequency, then all of a sudden your radio station was there. That's the kind of thing that I do in the meditation. I teach people how to tune in to the right frequency. And the frequency, to me, the frequency of God is infinite, unconditional love and peace. It's a beautiful, loving, high frequency. In addition to that, that frequency, especially of creating more in my life in that connection with God, is the frequency of gratitude, of deep, infinite gratitude. And so what I do is as I help people go through a breathing exercise, then I'll post some links to some stuff that I use as well. And we'll do an entire video just on the meditation itself because I think this is super powerful, but I'll give you the high level here. So I have people close their eyes, and I would encourage you to put some headphones on, something that takes away all your distractions, some music that has no beats and no words, preferably something like a sound bowl track or some kind of a meditation type of a track. And I like doing ones that are longer, like 1 hour tracks, so I don't have like a skip in the middle that pulls me out of my meditation. And so I in this musical track I'm having people listen to, now I have them focus on their breath, slowly in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I go through this whole exercise of helping them drop in to this deep, deep meditation. Now, in that deep meditation, especially when we're practicing visualization and you're manifesting things in your life, at that point, I have them focus on the energy of the emotion of gratitude. And so thinking of something in your life that you're incredibly, incredibly grateful for right now, just focus on that thing. And so I would encourage you to think right now and even write down some of the things that you're incredibly grateful for so that you can practice this in this meditation. So think about those things that you're incredibly grateful for. And then think about the other things in your life that are super beautiful because of the things in your past, and have gratitude not only for all that is, but have gratitude for those beautiful things in your past that have brought you to this place in your life. Once you've mirrored that, and this is the key here in visualizing your future, is mirroring that frequency. So your frequency of gratitude for the easy things, what you have right now, and then gratitude for all the things in your past that were super beautiful in your life, and then mirroring that gratitude by emotionally bringing in, visualizing what you're creating in your life, visualizing that healthy relationship, visualizing that financial abundance, visualizing the family of your dreams, visualizing the friendships that you really want, visualizing whatever it is, and express gratitude for those things as if they're already here. And again, if you start falling out of that energy of gratitude, go back for the things in your life that you're really grateful for, and just focus on mirroring that energy, mirroring that gratitude for things that you have now, all that is, all that was, and then all that you're creating, all that you're manifesting in your life, and emotionally feel it. I truly believe that gratitude is the purest form of faith. Gratitude for those things that have not yet occurred, but you are attracting them into your life. And because that's a powerful emotion. You can have the emotion of joy and excitement, but true gratitude, be incredibly grateful for those things that are coming, is that high frequency that will start attracting them to you. That what your answer, when you achieve your dreams, when you get to that point in your life, and when somebody interviews you and says, hey, tell me what it felt like when you walked across that stage. Tell me what it felt like when you rung that bell at when your company went public. What did it feel like when you sold your company? What did it feel like when you became a millionaire? What did it feel like when you married the woman in your dreams? What did that feel like? Here's what your answer should be. Exactly like I visualized it would be. Exactly. That's what's going to create those things in your life, is tuning into the emotion of exactly how it will feel when you're there, feeling gratitude for it as if it's already in your life, and then move forward in your life listening to those promptings that are going to start bringing the things and the people into your life that will create it. And you still have to do the work. Faith without works is dead, guys. This is where it applies in your life, is if you have that visualization of where you want to be, you still are going to be doing the work. But what's beautiful about it is that you're literally conspiring together with the universe. You're conspiring with God and creating those things in your life because you have connected with the energy of the universe, with the energy of all things, with the energy of other people who will come into your life and help create exactly what it is that you're visualizing. I really hope that you can use these tools to create a life of abundance, to create everything. We've heard the saying, this is the law of attraction. I truly believe this is the law of creation. It's not just the law of attraction. You're not just attracting people in, you are creating everything in your life. And yes, there are parts of it that you're attracting the right people, you're attracting the right things and energy, but you are a creator. And how you tap into that creative energy is by tapping into that emotion of gratitude, that visualization, seeing it and hearing it and feeling it. Just like when I took Robert to drive the car. If your goal is to have a Ferrari, you better know what that engine sounds like. You better know what it feels like to sitting behind the wheel of that car. If your goal is to have a healthy relationship, visualize what that is. Feel it in your heart. Love yourself enough to start attracting those healthy things into your life. Too many times people live a life of quiet desperation. I want you to live your dreams. I want you to achieve everything that you can. Why? Because we together can do so much more good in the world. You can contribute so much more to charity when you've achieved your financial goals so that you have that abundance. If I can help you learn how to liberate yourself from a life that you don't want so that you can embrace the life that you do want, you can create so much more good in the world around you. So thank you for joining me on the Liberating Humanity podcast. Please subscribe. Please share this with other people and let me know if you want to hear more of these. If you want to hear more stuff on success and the success principles, I can do a bunch more. If you want to hear me talk about more child rescue missions, I can do that too. But I want to give you value. I want to give you value that you can take home and apply in your own life. Thank you for joining me today.